think the global housing crisis in 2025 is arguably the largest and most expensive problem in the world. There's problems behind that problem, and you have to look more upstream and really unpack why that family or that person can't have the end result yet. I wish I had known in the beginning, but maybe God just hid it until years later so that we actually just got started. If you think of the housing crisis, about 2 billion people don't have adequate housing. If you just said, hold on one second, how much money would that take in global philanthropy and government subsidy that goes to housing to solve that problem? You're gonna get into the over 20 trillion range. Then, how much global philanthropy was given last year to all causes around the world? It's about 500 billion. If you were somehow able to get all global philanthropy to go to housing, you wouldn't even make a 10% dent. I thought that if somebody is in poverty and is living in inadequate housing, then you need to bring charitable resources. You need to work with the government. You need to figure out how do we get more subsidies to these areas, right? If you're trying to get product market fit with the family for housing, one might say, well, if they're lower income, you should provide subsidy to the interest rate, as opposed to providing a fair loan for what it's worth, and then unapologetically telling the lender, you can make a fair profit. If that's the case, the lender is going to be incentivized to do more. And what we've learned is the best part of capitalism is it's scalable.
One of the fun things that's happening in the faith-driven entrepreneur investor community is we're seeing the change in how we view philanthropic capital. We're starting to see this as like saying, hey, this is a place where we can take risk. We can view things differently. It's not just confined to traditional boxes and limited frames of what things can look like, but what could it look like to use philanthropic capital to take big risks, to go out there and to be the first capital into the riskiest places, to de-risk it for others to come behind, and to see this multiplying impact that might happen.
We are creating a new town. A town that becomes self-sustaining and then no longer needs charity.
I think one of the best uses of philanthropy actually is the riskiest part of the capital stack. You can use philanthropic capital for trying to make the wheels of capitalism start for these very underserved markets. News Story has done that, where we've had some really forward-thinking philanthropists that enable us to go and take these risks. If a philanthropist can help prove out mortgages in a market that families don't have access to home financing, that could then be taken and replicated and serve tens of thousands of families. But if that philanthropist was just funding with all charity, building 20 new houses, that's wonderful, but it's not proving anything bigger. So you have this literally multi-trillion-dollar gap that is real. We realized that and we said, okay, if we're serious about trying to help more families get access to life-changing housing, we have to make capitalism work for that market, because there is truly no other way to do it if you want to help the most people.
I love one of the things that Dave Blanchard talks about, where he talks about solving problems is like quests. And there's quests that we go on, and then we go on one quest and we defeat that player level, if you will, of a quest, that God invites us to take the next step up. And you hear that in Brett's story, where he says that if he had known what he knows now, he might not have started. But God took him through a journey of saying, how do we accomplish this step before I show you the next step and the next step and the next step? And I think we miss that as faith-driven entrepreneurs and faith-driven investors. We want this tight plan and performa thesis all built out and think that nothing's gonna change. And really what God says is, I want you to say, start, follow me, take that first step into that journey. when you do, I'm gonna walk with you. And as long as you bring what you have, I'm going to multiply it and to impact others.
What's up, YC? We are down in Haiti visiting our first batch of New Story Homes. I'm Brett.
Matthew.
I'm Allie, and we're the founding team of New Story.
I think when there's such big problems, you can get paralyzed by how big it is, and you can try to have like the more perfect strategic plan to get started. And that's usually not the best way to get started. So we just got started. We tried to do for a few families what we wish we could do for all the families. And we try to go about it in a way that was different than the status quo that we saw. That was the beginning of it. And then once we got started, then we realized how actually massive the global housing crisis is.
For this month, we're trying to fund 40 homes. Last week week 1, we did 7 homes. Week 2, we are now at actually 11 homes. That's this current week.
Some of the exciting things we're looking at right now, there's of course 3D printing, which we're big fans of. Modular housing. There are ways where a family could start and they could build a small starter home in the beginning, and they could design it in a way where it's going to expand and grow over time because they own the land and they're building their credit profile, so they'll be able to get another loan to build their second story. What's really beautiful is we show a family the end vision and that end dream of owning a home with their kids in the very beginning of the process when they're just signing up and starting to pay for their land. The more that entrepreneurs and investors can think about bringing innovations and business models to a massive, underserved market, literally one of the most expensive and biggest problems in the world. View those people not as charitable beneficiaries, but view them as potential customers. And how can I bring housing products or land or home financing in a way that they can actually afford? Being able to show somebody that that's possible and that they have potential and that God is in their story and there's hope is really exciting.